There is a lot to take in here, and whenever you encounter a problem with a lot of information, it's always best just to take things one step at a time. To start, we've got a total of $6,400, and it's broken down into two separate accounts. Of course, we don't know how it's broken down. And remember, in math, when you don't know what something is, you always want to label it with a variable. So let's call the amount in one account X, and let's call the amount in the other account Y. Now, one of these accounts earns interest at a rate of 5%, and the other earns interest at a rate of 3%. Well, 5% as a decimal is 0.05, and likewise 3% as a decimal is 0.03. So we can call the interest in the first account 0.05x, and likewise we can call the interest in the second account 0.03y. Now, towards the end of the problem, we're told that each account earns the same amount of interest. In other words, the 0.05x equals the 0.03y. And notice this now leaves us with two equations, and whenever you have two equations with two variables, you typically want to combine them to see whether you can solve for the variables. Before I do that, however, I want to simplify this second equation. Decimals, they're a pain to work with. Notice that if we multiply both sides of this equation by 100, we can simplify it to 5x equals 3y. Now, there are a number of ways, of course, that we can combine these two equations. Let me show you what I would do. Personally, I always try to use the elimination technique whenever I can. So as the first step, I'm going to rewrite the second equation as 5x minus 3y equals 0. And as a next step, I'm going to multiply the top equation by 5. First, I need to get rid of one variable. So if I have 5x in both equations, that's going to allow me to subtract the equations. But more importantly, multiplying the big number, that is the 6,400, is going to be easy because multiplying by 5 is very simple. So let's do the work. When we multiply the top equation by 5, we of course get 5x plus 5y. And remember, an easy way to multiply big numbers by 5, multiply by 10 instead, and then cut the number in half. Well, 6,400 multiplied by 10 would be 64,000, and cut in half, that is 32,000. Now that the dirty work's been done, let's go ahead and do the subtraction. 5x minus 5x is 0. 5y minus negative 3y, of course, is 8y. And 32,000 minus 0 is 32,000. In other words, we know 8y equals 32,000, which of course means y equals 4,000. So if y equals 4,000, we can plug that information back into our original equation, and that shows us that x is going to equal 2,400. Now remember our goal here. We want to get the total amount of interest earned from both accounts. Well, in the X account, we have $2,400, and it draws 5% interest. Well, 10% of 2,400 is $240, so 5% should be half of that, or $120. And remember, both accounts earn the same amount of interest, which means the Y account also earned $120 worth of interest, which means the total amount of interest drawn from both accounts is the sum of the two 120s, and 120 plus 120 is 240. And there you go. That's the reason here that 240 is the correct answer.